Hi, this is Rick Kelly at Fuel Cycle, and you're listening to Finding the Edge. Hello, this is Rick Kelly at Fuel Cycle, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Edge. Today, it's my privilege to introduce you to Nik Samoylov. How do I say that, Nik? Did I say it right?
Samoylov.
Samoylov. Did I still get it wrong?
No, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, good. And so Nik is the CEO of Conjointly, and prior to starting Conjointly, Nik was actually a management consultant at a small consulting firm you may have heard of called Bain & Company in both Australia and the United States. So he has a broad range of experience across multiple industries, working on consulting projects for Fortune 500 companies, primarily focused on advanced analytics and helping executives shape their strategic course of business. So graduate of Australian National University and winner of a couple different prizes for his work in advanced analytics and data science. Does that sound right, Nik?
Yes, that's the official bio, yes.
That's awesome. Well, certainly it sounds like you've accomplished a fair amount there. But now you're at Conjointly, founder and CEO of Conjointly. How did you get from, well, first of all, so you're from Russia originally, right?
Yes.
So Russia, Australia, and now the founder of Conjointly, which is spans multiple continents. How did you get from Russia to here?
The journey from Russia was actually by plane, as you would imagine. I came to Australia to study at the Australian National University. That's where I did marketing and really wanted to get into market research as I graduated. Unfortunately, it was around the time of global financial crisis, and jobs were scarce in that part of the industry.
Yeah.
But I was lucky to join a consulting firm called Bain, and that's where I got to see how decisions are made at companies, particularly big companies,
Mm-hmm.
how much people rely on gut feel versus actual solid evidence, and oftentimes it's not so much reliance on hard data.
Mm-hmm.
It's very often somebody's intuition within the company that would shape the course of many decisions. And that was, I guess, the insight that I got um, to start working on Conjointly, a company that helps bring down the cost and speed or increase the speed of delivering insights um, to companies, and hopefully can help them make better decisions through that.
Yeah, gotcha. So just kind of backing up and background. So were you working on a lot of conjoint related projects at Bain, or was that in university and you kind of transitioned into it?
The interest started at university at Bain. The work was mostly about just generalist consulting, but on every project there would be typically at least some element of advanced analytics. Some of it conjoined, some of it not necessarily in that choice modeling field, but you definitely would touch on something that is based on some sort of market insight, um, some sort of reliance on what customers say and feel about the product.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big value that large consulting houses bring to their clients. They do not only take what they hear from the management, or what they hear from employee interviews, or whatever expertise they have developed internally and offer it as a framework. It's also about bringing a bit of market research into every project, and it's that combination of things that delivers good value to clients. But it's not only about that for. Sorry, it's not. Need to pause here.
No,
Uh,
no worries. If you want to add any profanities at this point, while we're already editing, you can.
okay. um, I think that point was made. So no need to continue the point actually.
Gotcha. So, I mean, for most people, landing a job at a consultancy, like a top tier consultancy, sounds like a dream job. So you're at Bain, and what possessed you to leave, what many perceive as a fantastic job, and move into a startup?
um, um, Good question. Okay, so that's there is the honest answer, and then there is the official answer. Um, um,
We can pass on this question if you want to.
can we pass on this question? It's yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Uh, the honest answer, you probably know
I do.
it's a lot of work, and yeah, you want to have time for something else as well.
Sure. So let's move on to another question then. So you're building conjointly, and how long has conjointly been around now?
We have been around for 2 years, but we launched commercially, I guess, only a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that's been the time frame.
What's been the most enjoyable part of building the business?
Um, Two things. One is building new products, so building new research methods, and sometimes we build them from scratch. But recently we moved into the approach where we do a full service project and then automate it so that the next project can be done by our clients independently themselves with very minimal support from us.
Hmm.
And the joy of seeing something that people use is pretty amazing. And the other one is customer feedback. We have been pretty lucky to have uh, really good customers and who are quite engaged with our products, and we hear that they enjoy it, and
Sure.
that is the that's pretty amazing
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah. No, as a leader of a product organization myself, I agree with that. It's the customer feedback that feels really really good. So I'm always interested. Do you conduct research with your customers?
On our customers,
Yeah.
Uh, not so much, no. Mostly what we do is quantitative research, which means that our sample sizes are in hundreds, if not thousands. Um, and the industry we're in, insights industry, is not that big. Getting the right number of respondents for our research methods um, in our industry is really difficult. So we do listen to people's feedback. We do have a feedback form, but that is probably the extent of research we do on our customers now.
Gotcha. I would call that qualitative feedback. You're getting some unstructured data.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, yeah. There is also structured data from just talking to customers, which is always handy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think Conjointly has certainly grown in awareness a lot over the past year or so since you launched. As you kind of think toward the future of automation and what it means for the market research industry, where do you think we're kind of headed as an industry?
I think two things will happen. One thing is that the industry will not disappear. So there is a lot of talk about disruption and disruption of the industry, but I don't think the industry itself will be disrupted away by something else. There is a consistent need for companies to survey people. It's the kind of information they cannot get from any other place, not from any internal data that they house and can do data mining on, not from Google Trends or anything like that. You have to actually go and talk to people, sometimes hundreds and thousands of people, and hear their feedback.
Do, do,
That's the
do,
first
so,
non-change.
so quick question though. Does that mean that like software can potentially replace a lot of what the research industry does, or do you think there will still be kind of
Yes,
traditional research firms?
yes, I think there will be definitely a shift, and there is already a shift from traditional research firms to software, uh, but um, but it will be a shift. It won't be an annihilation of research firms.
Hmm.
Some things you as a client of market research firms, you want to land on their expertise, and you want them to tell you a story. And software at this stage cannot actually tell you a story of your product. It can do really good automated analytics. It can simplify the process. But one thing it doesn't do yet is it doesn't listen to you and
Hmm.
get you back a PowerPoint deck or a presentation that will be convincing and will take you on a journey. So I think that side of market research is definitely not going away, but hopefully a lot of the manual work that is still done in the industry will shrink and maybe eventually disappear.
Sure. What do you think the biggest opportunities for manual work to go away are?
Um, what we already see happening is sampling is becoming easier. It is now less about finding manually respondents in a database. Uh, and it's a very old technology. It's not something that appeared in the last 5 years or so. It's probably been around for 20 years, but it has been successfully applied to sampling only recently.
Hmm.
Um, Companies like SSI, they're doing pretty good job in that space. Um, that's number one. The other one is probably still data collation. There is a huge amount of effort that goes at, I guess, every research department or firm in just collating data. So you can do 2, 3 surveys, and then you need to match the data together, or you do a longitudinal study, and then you need to you need to figure out who said what when, and that process is really time consuming. Existing solutions can help you do the job faster, but still are not 100% there. There needs to be kind of next step um, um, and the next step in that evolution. But of course, what we offer is automation of research projects,
Sure.
which is where you would uh, put in your variables that you want to test, and eventually you would get a report at the end that tells you what features would perform well and what features not, what claims or products would be high performance,
Sure.
and that
So I mean, so right now you're doing some conjoint automation. I think like some pricing sensitivity, things like that. What's the most challenging part of automating portions of research that an outsider might not understand?
um, um, the most challenging is understanding precisely what kind of anticipating what projects people will be running, and what precisely they will need, because projects uh, take for example conjoint. It's a technique that you can apply to so many different um, research questions. It is about anticipating those research questions and building tools that will help most directly answer those questions.
Hmm.
For example, if it's willingness to pay, it's understanding what's not what is the technical definition of willingness to pay, but what do your customers, that's somebody in the research department of a big brand, what do they mean by willingness to pay? What is what metric do they want to see? So it is about listening to what people want to see, and giving it to them in the format that they want to see, and that is probably the most challenging part. Technical bits of this research automation are um, actually more straightforward than most would say.
Uh-huh.
Um, the what the
Do you
nuts
mean
and bolts of it is.
do you mean because like of AWS or other hosting services that allow you to kind of set up relatively simply?
and technologies has been around for a number of years now. For example, we are built on pretty old school technology that's been around for, I guess, 10 20 years. Things like PHP and HTML and R and all that. It is possible to put it together. The challenge is to understand what people want and help them answer their questions using that same technology.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, thinking about other things, I know from other conversations that you've been a bit of a blockchain enthusiast in the past, and this is always a hot topic. Maybe one we hadn't planned on talking about. But what's your view on the role that blockchain could play in market research?
I have not seen a useful application of blockchain so far in market research. It's pretty intriguing to imagine, I guess, where respondents would be remunerated somehow with a blockchain token instead of vouchers or cash that they receive now from panel companies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you need to make sure that those tokens have value to those respondents. And at this stage, I don't think I have seen anything that is um, that's working as a solution right now.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it would be interesting to see if something appears, but I predict there will be probably nothing in the next year.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. Really, the user experience of using blockchain technologies can be so cumbersome that unless you're accustomed to it, it's really more of a challenging user experience. And the security and privacy features that some people in the industry have advocated for, they don't exist unless you're actually using a blockchain solution itself rather than like a third party to store and manage that for you. So well, I think we tend to agree. I have a longer time horizon.
Hmm.
I don't think that there will be anything super useful or interesting in market research for another 4 or 5 years.
And then after 4 and 5 years.
And then I can reevaluate my decision. But for now, I would put it at a low probability that something interesting pops up. So tell me, like a little more about automation in general. What do you think is the biggest challenge in evangelizing automation and automated solutions to the research industry? Do you find that you're met with skepticism or open arms, or what does it look like when you first talk to a customer?
Um, I think I think the research industry, particularly on the client side, is actually split into two kind of camps. One camp is people who would never do any DIY research themselves. They will always hire an agency to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is people who tend to do mostly DIY and would only go to an agency if some external expertise is 100% required and they do not have it. So when we talk about them, there is actually two different camps of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you talk to people who have tendency to hire agencies, for them, automation is about speeding up and reducing cost of simpler projects. It is not something that they would necessarily want on a project that, for example, spans 50 different countries and has already a pretty massive investment attached to it. They would probably want to go with solution that's more guided by a research firm. But
Mm-hmm.
when it's a smaller project and there is only limited budget on it, and when they're pretty clear about what the outputs are, that's I guess is the ideal solution. So I think for that camp of companies, that's where automation right now is probably the right fit. For DIY, for companies who are focused on DIY research, um, for them, automation is about helping them do things a little bit better, because there is only so much you can do with DIY. For example, this month we are releasing a claims testing tool. I think we counted recently how many types of randomization of different things the tool actually does, and it was about 20.
That
And
that,
it's
that
a simple.
sounds like a lot.
Sounds like a lot, but if you don't do this, you end up with some spurious correlations that are just because this block of questions appears with that block of questions, and they're always fixed. There is only so much time you can do coding DIY tools to do all those randomizations, and that's just one aspect of it. With an automated tool, because you're doing it once, you code those 20 randomizations once, and then for every project they will be applied automatically. Um, that problem of spending hours and hours coding really robust randomization is solved, and it's only one aspect of what it does. It's also the choice of the modeling technique. It's also choice of the experimental design. It's many boxes that need to be ticked. So for a DIY focused company, automation actually helps do things a little bit better and more robust, while preserving the costs and maybe also reducing a bit of human effort.
Sure. And so if I'm a client sitting at a trying to evaluate our automation decisions and kind of where we go in automation, eh, what would you recommend I do to get started?
Um, think of a project that you think is not a necessarily the most high risk project because you want to try something on first. Think of a project that has clear objectives, not something that is still kind of in development or whose objectives are pretty wide ranging. So something that's contained, has clear objectives, and then with that, probably talk to someone who is providing that,
Mm-hmm.
like us or a couple of other companies, and see how their solutions would fit your needs. And that is probably the starting point.
Gotcha. And so as we kind of transition and think about the end here, I've known you for probably a year and a half, a couple of years now. I think we first chatted on Skype almost 2 years ago. It's been awesome to watch your business grow and kind of unfold during that time period. Uh,
Thank you, Rick.
yeah, of course, of course. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges of building a market research startup that you think is something most people wouldn't know?
Um, I guess there are challenges that come with building any business, finding the right people, making sure you work with the right suppliers, and approaching your customers and working with them. But the unique challenge in this industry is the time horizon it takes uh, to offer your product to a particular customer. What we see is that very often people would hear about us last year, and then a project comes up that is suitable to them now, and well, they know about us, and now there is a project, but it's been 1 year. So the unique challenge in this industry is the time horizon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible to build a company in 2 days in any industry, but some industries you can scale a bit faster. With us, it's the time horizon, I guess.
Gotcha. Well, excellent. It's been great chatting with you. And so you're based in Sydney, correct?
Yes,
Gotcha.
Sydney.
So if I have one day in Sydney, what are some of like the top two or three things I should be doing?
If you've never been to Sydney, the usual rundown of Harbour Bridge, Opera House, and walk along the ocean is probably the best thing. But if you are a little bit, if you have more than 1 day, I would recommend going to all the coffee shops and getting super caffeinated there. Coffee is really the best in Sydney. People say Melbourne, which is the other city in Australia, but my choice is Sydney
You
for
know,
coffee as well.
I have to agree with you. I think the best coffee I've ever had is in Australia in general. I think I once heard a story from you that I think all the so Starbucks tried to enter like Sydney's kind of central district there, and
Yes.
had to close down a bunch of stores because there's so much good coffee around that only like one or two could survive.
Yeah, yeah, they really did not fit here. And I heard that in New York, a couple of more than a couple Australian coffee shops are doing pretty well. So maybe the revolution is coming to the US too.
It is. It's good. Bluestone Lane is very popular in New York, and they just opened up a shop in Los Angeles in the past couple weeks. So Australian coffee is coming to the U.S. as well, which I'm as a highly caffeinated person, I'm very excited about. Good
Right.
stuff, Nick. Hey, well, it's been great chatting with you. I enjoyed our conversation as always, and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you very much, Rick.
All right.